So, in the last class we looked at what an abstract data type is and what is an abstract data type. Now, we said the idea is to use data structures, user defined data structures, and not only that you have user defined data structures, you also define operations on these data structures. And just like when you write procedures, for example, to find the sum of n elements as we did some time back, we basically have a procedure that operates on an array and gives you the result. So, in much the same way, what we can do is we can have what is called an abstract data type is something like this. I can define it as an ADT, let us say abstract data type, and let us say I want to define complex, which is the example that I am going to take now. I can define some private data here, and this data organization is depending upon our convenience. We will see this example, whether I want to use here basically we use the basic data types like the integer, float and character and array for that matter, pointers to describe the private data. Then we have a set of operations, and these operations are what is visible to the outside world, and these operations operate on this private data. Okay. So, this is how a ADT is defined. So, basically when you are looking at an abstract data type, we are talking about something like this. I have a mathematical model and an informal algorithm that operates in the mathematical model, as we saw in the context of sets, and this becomes an abstract data type with a pseudo language program operating on the data that is within the abstract data type. And it finally, when it goes to a higher level language, you are going to use the basic data structures that are there, make them your user defined data structures, and you operate higher level language programs. So, let us take an example. I am using C++ over here. Notice that we have switched from C to C++. We have already gone through a basic overview of what C++ is, and here I have defined what is called a class. The equivalent of an abstract data type is the definition of a class. We have a class complex here, and remember that in C or C++ it does not support data structure called complex. So, I define a complex data structure. Notice this over here, there are two private variables. Implicitly, if you do not say private colon or whatever, it means that it is by default private. That means these variables are not accessible to the outside world. Float, real, comma, imaginary. Then what do we have? We have the public, a set of functions which can operate on this data. Complex, this is like an initializer over here. For example, these are called constructors. Basically, I can pass as argument a real and an imaginary value, which are both float type, and it will create a object of type complex. These are also called objects. Then notice that what I have done, I have taken the operator plus and said this operator now should mean, what is the meaning of this operator? This operator takes this particular object, which is, notice that real here is being defined, and this real is added to the argument that is being passed, which is also of type complex. So, it adds that particular argument and returns the sum of the two complex numbers. Similarly, you have something which says the operator minus when it is complex should mean this. Okay. So, what we are saying here is we know that by the definition of plus and minus, you know, with respect to integer x and let us say x equal to 4 comma y equal to 5, then if I say let us say int z and z is equal to x plus 5 x plus y, then you know z equal to the value of z will be 9. Okay. So, it knows that when this plus is used here, that when both are integer, this is what it will do. Suppose I had int u equal to 2.5 and v equal to 1.0 or something like that. Then when I say w, I am sorry, float here, not int, float here, and then I had a float w, and I said w is equal to u plus v, then the value that w will hold is 3.5. Okay. So, clearly what is happening is, notice that already the plus operator in C or C++ is already overloaded. What does it mean by overloaded here? In this context, it notes that the operands are integer, and in this case it knows that the operands are float. So, now what we are doing here in this example is that it is already overloaded, we are overloading it one more type of operand, and what is this type of operand? Complex. So, that is what we have done here. So, there is another one for multiplication of two numbers. Here is something for scalar division, and there is a operator for division, and notice that one is for scalar division and one is for division by a complex number itself. So, basically depending upon the context, it figures out whether this is a this operator overload or this operator overload. So, basically if I pass a number which is a float, then it will know that it has to do scalar division, but whereas here when I pass a number which is complex, it knows that it has to perform complex division. So, this is something that you can define. So, note we have written a whole lot of things over here. We also wrote a print function which says prints real plus IB, and here is the main program. What have we done? Notice the way we have defined complex A of 0.5 comma 0.5. Let us go back to this example. We had a constructor here, complex of float real comma float imaginary. Okay. Complex bracket, whatever is the default values is what it will take here. Here on the other hand, we are assigning the real here to whatever has been passed and the imaginary to what has been passed as argument. So, that is exactly what we are doing here. So, when I am defining here in the main program, I am defining complex A of 0.5 comma 0.5, B of 2.5 comma 2.5, C is equal to 0, C this is like initializing. Then I have int x, y and z. I have written a simple small snippet of a program here. C is equal to A plus B, x is equal to 4, y equal to 6, z is equal to x plus y. Notice that x and y are integer here. Here A and B are complex. So, here it will perform complex addition, but here it will perform integer addition. So, let us try to run this program. Let me just run this program for you. Hope you can see it. I have already written this program here. I will just cat this. I put an extension. So, this is the same program which you saw in the slides here, the same program which has been written, and you see that a class has been defined here just like what I showed you. There is a private variable and then there is operator overloading that happens. Then I compile this in the usual way. What do I do to compile? See, I am writing the output to a bin directory because this is the source directory over here. There is one advice that it is always good to put all your source programs in the source directory and executables in the binary directory, bin directory and object files in the obj directory, documentation in a doc directory and so on. So, I am doing this. Okay. So, it compiled the program. Let me run this now. So, what does it do here? Notice that it is giving you 3 plus I3, okay, because we had 2.5 plus 0.5. So, that was the addition that was being there. Z is equal to, for example, C is equal to A plus B and Z is equal to X plus Y. When I am getting the output from C, what are we doing? We have C dot print is what we are doing over here. So, it prints the value of C and that is 3 plus I3, and then also we also C out. This is a standard output function in C++, and you find that Z is given the value of 10. What is important to notice? The plus here is done with respect to complex, here is plus which is done with integer. These are already available to us from the C++ compiler. Here is this operator here, plus being overloaded, is what we defined in this piece of code over here, where we define the entire complex ADT. So, this is the point of using complex, using abstract data types. The big benefit of using abstract data types is that now I can write, if you are a electrical engineer for that matter, you may want to write an FFT program which uses complex to do your FFT algorithm, and you can treat it, each one of those you can do the addition using in much the same way addition, subtraction and so on and so forth. Okay. So, this is about how we what I have shown to you so far is simply a way of creating a new user defined data type with operations defined on it. You already had, the compiler already provided for you integer and float with operations defined on it, and what we have done is to this we have added the complex data type on which we are defining a set of operations. Okay. So, this is the big thing about abstract data types with operations defined on them. There is another very big advantage that we also see, as we said here when we say class complex here, we have this private data, and what is interesting is that we can, the operations are actually defined only on the private data. The implementation of the ADT, that what I mean is that how complex has been stored inside that data structure is completely hidden from the user, and the data cannot be accessed directly. The implementation of the, so what is interesting is that the way we are implementing the data type, the private data type for example, today maybe I used an array, tomorrow I am using a linked list, as long as I keep the operations should be the same without changing the way the operations access the elements, you can change this and a user will not even know that you have actually changed the implementation inside. So, let us look at some standard abstract data type. The first thing is what is called a list. Do not confuse with the linked list, this is just a list of elements. We will worry about how the implementation is done later, the ADT stack and the ADT queue. Okay. So, let us look at this list. What is a list now? We define the ADT list as a sequence of 0 or more elements of a given element type. Okay. So, it consists of elements A1, A2, A3 up to n is greater than or equal to 0, and AI is of a particular element type, n is the length of the list, n greater than or equal to 1, first element is A1 and last is AN. This is the definition of a list. So, notice that we are not talked about anything about the implementation. How are we going to represent this list? We are not going to talk about it. All that we are saying is there is a list of elements which I need to represent, and they are, for example, they can be list of jobs, it can be list of grocery items, it can be a list of items in a set, or it can be something that I want to use for if I want to do something like infinite precision arithmetic, each one of them might correspond to a digit. Okay, the list is used to represent a very long number, and each element of the list corresponds to a digit in the number. So, you can do anything with that for that matter, however you want to represent these lists. So, let us look at what are the operations that you may like to perform. So, let us look at what are the problems. You have a list of jobs, list of grocery items, representation of sets. Lists can be used to perform infinite precision arithmetic, as we said. The operations that you would like to do is, we say suppose P is a particular position in the list. So, when you are talking about a list here, we just said I have a list A1, A2 up to AN. Now, a new element comes along, let us say B or something, I want to insert it into the list. So, I want to insert it, let us say after some AL, L is the position and I want to put it here and then make this list. Okay, this will become AN plus 1 now. Okay. So, I might want to insert an element at a particular position in the list. I want to go to the end of the list. Where is the end of the list? Here, after n plus 1. I want to go to the end of the list, or I want to locate an element in the list. I want to find where a particular element is found. Let us say I am looking for some x, where is it in this list? I want to find the position, maybe it is at A2 and I want to return the position 2. Okay. Then I may want to retrieve an element at a particular position. I want to look at, let us say, AK, and I want to say what is there at the kth position in the left. Okay. What is the value that is there at the kth position? Retrieval. Okay. Then I want to delete a particular position in the list, delete an element at a particular position. I may say delete the kth element. Okay. Then you want to go to the next element. What is the position of the next element in the list? What is the element, what is the position of the previous element in the list, so on. I want to create an empty list, what is the first element in the list, and so on. So, these are all operations that I have defined on lists. I can write or I can also have an operator which prints all the elements in the list, prints the element at a particular position in the list. So, if you look at this here, I have drawn this pictorially here. This is an ADT list. So, what are we doing? Things that go into the list, it creates an empty list. Elements are inserted into the list, and here what are we doing? We remove elements from the list and delete. In locate, we find where a particular element x is present, retrieve element at a particular position P, and so on. So, this is how you represent the list ADT. So, there is some internal representation, we are not talking about what it is. You can either create an empty list or you can insert an element into this. So, these are the operations which become visible to the outside world. So, let us look at an implementation of lists. Now, how do I represent the list? So, now we have already seen when we have large, we assume that list is made up of a set of elements of the same element type. That is our definition. If you go back to this definition over here, A1, A2, A3 are all belonging to the same type. It is grocery items, it is a list of jobs, it is a representation of elements in a set of the same type, or as an infinite precision arithmetic, it corresponds to the digits that make up a given number. Okay. So, let us say this what we have. In terms of representation, so I need something which will, I need a data structure that will, it is available in the programming language, which will enable me to represent elements of the same type. So, we have already seen two such data structures. What are these two data structures that we have seen? One is the array and the other one is the recursive implementation, which is the linked list. Okay. I distinguish between linked list and the list is here. List is simply a list of items. Okay. So, what do we have here? First, second, third. So, this is where you find the list, and this points to last, which is the last element in the list. Rest of it is empty. So, you have some fixed array size and say the list cannot grow more larger than this, and then you keep putting elements into this particular list. But the important thing is the list is accessible. Any element at any position should be accessible. That is what all these operations that we have defined help us to do. Okay. So, then what we have is we have a header here. If I am using a linked list representation on the other hand, the access is via the header, but as far as the user is concerned, he should not be able to he should not know how the implementation is done. He does not have to go through the header or whatever. So, locate the element at a particular position P, it should return the element at the particular position P. So, let us see. So, what I am saying is when you are looking at this position P over here, when I am using an array representation, the position P corresponds to an index in the array, whereas here when I am talking about a position P here, that is, let me give a slightly better example here. So, there is a header, and this header let us say points to A1, A2 and so on, and let us say this is AN. Now, here I might have a position P, then P points to a particular element in the list. We will see how both these implementations are done. In one case it is a pointer address, in another case it is an index into the array, but the way we will write the we will implement the ADT is the user does not know, he knows there is a type called position. Just like you know there is a data type called integer, there is a data type called car, there is a data type called float, here you have a data type called position, and that is what he will use in the program. So, let us look at this implementation. I have used a linked list representation in this particular representation of this particular list ADT here. So, what am I doing here? I am saying cell pointers, cell type is defined here, which has an element type which is of type value, and what is element type? I am using integer elements for the time being, and then what we say is that we have a type def over here which says pointer to the cell type is of type position, that is all. And here what have we done here? Element type which is of type integer here is value, and so element type is something that the user will define. Okay. The user will say, you as the designer of the ADT will say it is a list of element type. Element type definition comes from the user. So, you will have a separate .h file which will tell you how the element type is represented, and position corresponds to the next, again because the next element is again a pointer, that is what we do. So, let us look at this. So, what do we have now? When I look at a private data, I have a position which points to the list head. Then we have something that creates an empty list, insert list, element X at position P, delete list, element at position P, delete whatever is there at position P. What is the position of the first element? What is the position of the last element? What is the position of the next to the position P? Print the entire list. This is a partial implementation that we have. So, what am I doing here? I do something clever in this to reduce the computation time that is required. Let us see what I am doing here. I am creating a list head, creating an empty list with one element, this is what this means, new cell type, and then I am saying list head next points to null. So, it's what I have done is I create an empty header node without anything, and this is the header. I create a empty node, I do not have anything in that. Okay. Then what I do is, when I am looking at element type to be inserted, I do something clever. What I do is, here if you notice, what are we doing? We are saying notice that there is an assignment here, temp is assigned to p pointer next, p pointer next I am creating a new element here. Then what are we doing? We are saying p pointer next equal temp, and p pointer next is equal to x. So what are we doing here? Let us go through this. If I want to do it pictorially, what I am doing is, I want to, there is an insert here, x at position p is telling me. So what we are doing is, we are saying, so let us say this is position p. Okay. What we do is, we assign temp, I store in this p pointer next. Then what we do is, we create here, so that means what, this is a list which was like this, okay, and so on, some set of elements were there. I wanted to insert it over here. So what I do is, I create here a new element and put that element here and connect this back. Okay. So this is the new guy which I am adding. Okay. Although I said insert the element here, what we do is we keep it as the next position. We will see why this is useful. Why are we not inserting it at that particular position itself? There is a reason for doing this, because what happens is, if I do this, then if I want to delete at position p means what? I have to take this pointer here. Now notice that I had inserted this element. Now if I want to delete an element at position p means what? This is the element that has to be removed. Therefore all that I have to do is point p to p pointer next. So it is a very single operation over here. Notice that I do not have to do any more bookkeeping. So these are clever things that we do. So what did I do? I wasted one position here when I created the make null, created the empty list. I made one wasted position, and then what happened was, when I am inserting, I am always inserting, for example p here, a here, for example I insert it over here, then I take this temp and then point, this is pointing to this guy, then I correct all the pointers. Okay. The advantage is, when I am doing deletion here, I do not have to do any bookkeeping. I know that actual location of the element where I have inserted is p pointer next. So I just have to do this adjustment of pointers over here, so that the list looks like what we want to have. So for example, this is exactly what is showing over here. Okay. So this is something which is very nice about doing your own implementation. Why is this okay? You may wonder, what happens to the user of the program, because you are not giving access to the data structures which is defined within the class. You just do not have to worry about it. You know that you are doing the bookkeeping, and as long as the operations which you have defined within, okay, which operate on the ADT are consistent with each other, you do not have to worry about it. Okay. Similarly here, going to the end of the list means this goes till the position is null. Okay. Then there is one for print list and so on. Okay. Now what I am going to do is, I am going to show you again the running of this program. Let us go to this here. So I have here a program, let us say list. I have two different, I want to show you this, let me see if I can increase the terminal preferences. Okay. Increase text, change character spacing. Yeah, let me just increase the font a bit so that you can see it a bit better. Okay, yeah, now this is better. All right. So let us look at this. Let me do the less. I have two different implementations, list ptr dot c, and this is the one which I have just put in the notes over here. So I have all these operations, make null, insert, retrieve, print list, and so on. Okay. Now I want you to look at these two. Here there is a main over here. Notice that is a main function. I want you to look at this main function here. It knows that there is a abstract data type of type list. If you notice this piece of code here, we create an empty list, then I am initializing the elements in the list. I am just saying keep on inserting elements at the end of the list, print the list, delete the element at the first item in the list, print the list, delete it, and so on. Okay. Now, I show you another implementation of this. This is list array. Let us see. And here what we have done is, notice that the position then becomes an index of type integer. Then notice that the functions look exactly identical. I have not changed anything here. Alright. Then what I do in make null, I am creating an array of size 100, which is of the type cell node there. And then what am I doing? Insertion operation is different, but it takes the same arguments. Okay. The position as far as the user is concerned, like when you define type int x, do you know how int is represented? You do not worry about it. So, in much the same way here the position is an index into the array, earlier it was a pointer into the list, and all the operations are defined. Now, I want you to look at this main program. This main program is identical to the earlier main program where I had list implemented as a pointer, okay, in terms of linked list. Here I have implemented using the array. If these are identical programs, let me see if I can put them in the same okay. So, what did it do? It initializes the list. So, 0, 1, 2, 3, 9, deleted the first element in the list, then again we deleted the second element in the list, and you get this result. So, what do we expect when we run the list pointer representation? It should give me identical results, and notice that it is not changed. Okay. So, this is the fun part of actually using ADTs. The fun part is that this representation that you have, you can change. The way the functions are implemented can be changed by the definer of the ADT, but the user of the ADT need not be aware of it. So, for example, suppose you are a you are writing code for you are writing some code to define an. So, initially you can come up with a poor definition of an ADT. The algorithms need not be very efficient, but afterwards you can make your algorithms which operate on the ADT so much more efficient, and the user need not even be aware that you actually change the representation totally. So, this is the fun part about defining abstract data types. So, what we did so far was we defined an ADT called list, and we talked about two different implementations of the list, and we wrote a main program which operates on the list, and we saw that the main program is actually independent of the implementation of the list. Okay. So, this is the big advantage of ADTs, as I have already mentioned. Now, I want you to take some homework back. There are some list problems here. Now, suppose you use this list to store sets. We already said it can be used to store sets. I want you to think about performing union, intersection, set A minus set B, and then I also talked about infinite precision arithmetic. Let me say what I mean by that. Suppose I have a very large number of digits, it is beyond the precision of the computer, then can you use the list to perform the something like this, let us say two very large numbers. Can you perform arithmetic? That is, each element is stored as a digit in the list. So, every list element is a digit, okay, and I want you to add these two, then take the carry, add these two, and so on, addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. Okay. And another thing is, suppose I have a list with something like this. There is already list with this kind. I want you to remove all the duplicates and give me a list of this. Okay. That is, this is the existing list that I have, and notice that you do not have access to the way the list has been represented. Just using the list operations, here also just using the list operations given that these are the elements in the list, I want you to come up with this. Similarly, from this I have two lists which are given like this, and I want you to perform the arithmetic. So let us see how you can do this, okay, and also converting an unordered list to an ordered list. So we kind of complete this first in this introduction. What did we do here? We introduced you to abstract data types, we talked about an example on complex, and then what did we do? We talked about the standard data type list which can be with a large number of operations, and we finally concluded with one example where we had implemented a list, two different implementations, but the same main program which operates on both these implementation of the list is what we had looked at. So next we will talk about stacks, and we will stop here, okay. That will be the next lecture. Stack is another abstract data type. So we will stop here for